Hello, all, and welcome back to This Day in History. It is August 17th, 2024, and as you know, it's not about the year, it's about the, the magic of the day, right? So here's the thing is that today marks the 21st birthday of my ex-stepdaughter, and while she's ex, as in like her mother and I divorced, we've been divorced for 2 years now. I wish that kid nothing but success in this world, and um, I pray that she has a good life. I pray that they all have a good life. I mean, I still think of them daily. I still love them daily. Obviously, I mean, like I didn't want the divorce, but I mean, my ex wife did, and I'm not going to disparage her. I mean, people grow apart, life goes on, and life has gone on. Um, uh, I can only assume that they're happier without me, and um, on one front I'm happier, um because I found a better place in life, if that makes any sense. I still miss them. I still wish that I was still married and that I was still their dad. um but you know uh life takes a twist and turn, and it's just the way it is. So um happy birthday. I'm not going to mention her name, out of respect to her. But I hope you have a blessed day. I truly do, and I hope that you deserve to have a good life. And I honestly mean that. So I pray that you have a blessed life, and that you find what you're looking for in life, and that um, you just take advantage of all the opportunities that come your way, and just live life. I mean, that's the thing is like, uh, the one thing I always tried to teach you guys was to embrace life and live it to the fullest, even though I wasn't exactly the greatest shining example of it most of the time. But you know I tried to show you a different side of life, like the same way that my mother showed me. Like we did a lot of traveling and did a lot of exploring of the outside world, and I would just encourage that for you and your brothers to properly embrace life, explore it. That's all. And you know I my blessings go out to you, and um, I'll always love you guys. So that's my heartfelt message to you, and happy birthday, happy 21st. And I would say don't try to drink the town dry like I tried, but I know you've got a better head on your shoulders than I did when I was your age. So with that said, let's get into it. All right, it's August 17th, so we got some special stuff. And by the way, kid, you share your birthday with some pretty cool people, and we'll get into that for in a moment here. But 1887, we see the birth of Marcus Garvey. Who's Marcus Garvey? Well, he was born in Jamaica. He helped found the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, um, which its charter was to they sought to build a black governed nation in Africa. Um, in 1906, we have Hazel Bishop born. Hazel Bishop was an American chemist. She was also a businesswoman. She was born in Hoboken, New Jersey. She founded a makeup company, and unfortunately, Britannica.com didn't name the makeup company, but she was the one who created the Kiss Proof lipstick. I don't know. I don't wear makeup, so I have no. I don't know. I know nothing about it. Um, so here's something interesting. 1929, we see the birth of Francis Gary Powers, and that is pretty significant. Um, Francis Gary Powers was a United States military pilot. He was made famous in May 1st, 1960, when his aircraft was shot down over the Soviet Union. He was flying in a top secret, spy plane, the U-2 spy plane. He was flying over Russia. He was shot down. He was captured. He took off. His flight took off from India or Pakistan, I believe. And he was doing these flybys. They were taking high altitude aerial reconnaissance photos and the like. And so he was put on trial for espionage, and they gave him a sentence of 10 years of confinement. He was released in 1962 as part of a prisoner swap, and it was done on a bridge in East Berlin, I believe. There was a very good movie that was made about it several years ago. He was swapped. Francis Gary Powers was swapped for a Rudolf Abel, who was he was a Soviet spy, and he was caught trying to basically send military secrets, are like what spies do, gather intelligence and send intelligence on of our stuff to his home country in the Soviets. I'm actually kind of surprised that he wasn't executed, because that's kind of what they did with spies back then, especially in the 50s during the McCarthy era. So I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't executed, but thankfully he wasn't, because he was used as a bartering chip to get Francis Gary Powers back. Unfortunately, Powers would die piloting a helicopter for a local news agency. He was like a news reporter pilot, and he died in a helicopter crash. And I thought that was like 1971, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. I briefly read it, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting factoid, and then it's like gone. 1943, actor Robert De Niro, American actor. He was in like movies such as Raging Bull, Midnight Run, Heat. He has been in a lot of stuff. He was also in some of the Godfather movies where he played the younger. He played the younger version of Marlon Brando's character, Don Corleone. Ronin was another great movie that he did. I mean, I love the man's work. I don't necessarily agree with his politics, and especially as of late, he's been more and more active with his political persuasions. And but like I've said before, that if I based my likings of my favorite actors and filmmakers and such on their politics, then I wouldn't have much to watch, because it would be, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, the most of Hollywood is the opposite political persuasion that I am. So I try to separate their personal views from the work that they do. Their personal views does not diminish in any way the good work that they do. So I still love the man's work. 1944, we see the birth of Larry Ellison. He was an American business executive. And I was like, well, that's a little light. There's not much there. So I actually clicked on the link there, and I looked up, who he was. Turns out that he is, he's a business executive for Oracle Corporation. 1960, we see the birth of Sean Penn. Sean Penn's another American actor that has done a lot of great stuff. Early on in his career, he was in a movie in the late 70s called The Warriors. It was about, like street gangs in New York, and the turf wars and all that. It was I actually watched it for the first time several years ago, and um, I understood why my friend Joe always had a certain. He quoted a certain line, and I finally understood the context of that line. He was also in Taps. He's been in a lot of stuff. Casualties of War. He played Sergeant Meserve in that movie. He's been in a lot of other stuff too. I just, the titles just kind of, they don't really jump out at me. But I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. Um, he was married to Madonna at one point. Then they divorced. Um, Robin Wright, the actress who played Buttercup in The Princess Bride, she played Jenny in Forrest Gump. She became his wife, Robin Wright Penn. I'm not sure if they're still married or not, but I mean, that's, they were a power couple. He was the brother of Chris Penn, who was in a bunch of movies himself. Footloose was one of them. Best of the Best was another. Chris, Sean, birthday boy Sean's brother, Chris, he died young due to drugs, unfortunately. 1977, we see the birth of Thierry Henry, who is a French football, and when I say football, I mean soccer. He's a French football player and manager. So now let us get into the history of the day. 1590. John White returns from England to Roanoke Island, which is an island off the coast of North Carolina, and he comes back to discover that there's no trace of the colony that he left behind. No, they're vanished without a trace. They're known as the lost colony of Roanoke Island. He's befuddled. So he makes his great return after 3 years and finds they're gone. They just disappeared without a trace. 1807, we see the very first serviceable steamboat. It was called the Clermont. It was designed by American engineer Robert Fulton. So the first serviceable steamboat, the Clermont, it embarked on its maiden voyage on this day in 1807. In 1896, George Washington Carmack, he unearths gold in the Bonanza Creek, which is a tributary of the Klondike River, which is up in Yukon, Canada. It's the Yukon borders Alaska, and then trickles down to British Columbia, and on. So basically, it sparked the gold rush of the Yukon. Was 1896. 1945, the book Animal Farm, and it's, if you've never read it, I encourage you to read it. You'll have a better understanding of the quest for the utopian society, the harsh realities of socialist systems. English author George Orwell had the book published on this day in 1945, and so right on the heels of World War II. World War II just ends, and he writes this great book. It's called Animal Farm. It's basically animals setting up their own system, their own way of life. I mean, governmental system, as it were. It's an anti-utopian satire, and it became an instant classic. Like, I remember reading it in 7th grade. We read it in 7th grade. I just last year I listened to it on audiobook. So yeah, it had some really good stuff there. 1978, Ben L. Abruzzo, Maxie Anderson, Larry Newman, they completed the first transatlantic balloon flight on the the balloon designated as the Double Eagle 2. 1979, major earthquake, 7.4 magnitude earthquake. It struck near Izmit, Turkey. It killed more than 17,000 people, and something like 500,000 were left homeless because of this really bad earthquake. The 2008 Olympics in Beijing, U.S. Olympian Michael Phelps helps the U.S. team win the 4x100-meter medley relay. He became the very first athlete to win 8 medals in a single game. So, in other words, he won 8 medals at that particular Olympic Games in Beijing, and he was the first athlete to actually win like 8 gold medals at a single games. So yeah, it was. I mean, the dude's definitely the GOAT. He is the GOAT of swimming for sure. And special, the featured person. 1932, we see the birth of Sir V.S. Naipaul. He's born in Trinidad Island, which is Trinidad and Tobago. He's a Trinidadian British writer, and that's the featured person. The featured event is, and we talked about this here very recently. It's on this day in 1945 that Indonesia is declared independent by Sukarno. We talked about Sukarno. I think it was his birthday is why we discussed him. But he declared Indonesian independence from the Netherlands. 4 years later, the Dutch, because I guess it was a Dutch colony or Dutch possession, whatever. 4 years later, after the Dutch had transferred, the sovereignty to the nation, Sukarno became their very first president. He served from 1949 to 1967. So that is this day in history for August 17th. We will do it again tomorrow for August 18th. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Be blessed. Take care. And we'll chat at you later.